Greetings and salutations. So, I'm doing a recap or kind of an update on some of the content that's been released. So, about 3 years ago, I started doing this wish list series for Conan Exiles, and I wanted to go through and kind of summarize that actually a lot of it has been implemented in the game. Like here, I discussed derelict building pieces, right? And this was back in uh, 2019, April 15th of 2019. And this is really when I started going through and discussing some of the pieces. And I hadn't had all my stuff set up, get kind of trying to get OBS and the microphone settings. And so some of these early videos are a little bit rough. And, and there's some problems they they've they've definitely addressed. So I think the flotsam pieces definitely fall within the realm of the derelict building pieces. So I have to say that this one wish list number two has been checked off the list.
Hello
And
and
then oops, let me pause
salutations.
this. And then here we have reinforced wall frames wish list, and they've knocked this one out also. Where I discuss here, they have they had the banding pieces in the doors, and on this wish list, I wanted them to kind of do that into the window sockets as well. And this one was done in also April 15th, a whopping 22 views. And they've done that with the arena set. They've able to put the banding pieces into the arena set. So I think this one's been completed. Um, and then as we go through here, Yogg Tier 2 Shrine, let's see here. We got Defari Diet Human Flesh. That one really hasn't been to uh, floor traps. See, they haven't addressed the balance in the PvP cycle yet, because and I got lots and lots of videos on how the this game is really meant to exist in the realm of PvP, but the attack versus the defense ratio is not dialed in. It's too easy to attack a building, and there aren't enough countermeasures to defend it for the time that it takes in. And I got hundreds of videos showcasing that and explaining that and get into the weeds on that. But you see, hand rework, hand black hand rework. Oh, war paint. They haven't done the war paint rework. Vaults. If I were to say one thing that I wish they would rework is the vault system, the chest vault system, and I kind of wish they would tie that into an economy 2.0 rework. I know here on the test live server they have it to where the all the benches are being expanded upon. And one of my bit, and I talk about this pretty extensively. This is on April 15th. Also, this is 134 views. But there's this big gap where you have a wood chest.
Hello and
You have a wood chest, and then you have a wood chest, and then you go into your regular chest, and then you cascade up to a vault. And they need an intermediate, like third tier, which would be a safe, because I really don't like to construct vaults because they kind of take up the entirety of your base, and it becomes like if you're trying to hide and tuck away your base, um, it's just a huge pain in the ass, and they just get thrown everywhere, and it's kind of counterintuitive to like really clever base designs and tucking away your stash. So they need to add, like, a vault is a 3 by 3, so it's a total of 9 tiles. I'd like to see it safe as a total of uh, 2 by 2, so it's a total of 4 tiles. Like a chest is a 1 tile build, and so it's a scale down, and I talk about that extensively in this video. In another one, I talk about they've kind of done the torch rework. Well, kind of. I mean, they've added extensive torches, but they haven't gone through and done some of the stuff that I recommended, where you could actually light stuff on fire with the torch. I definitely would like to see that. gaseous orbs and torches. They haven't touched that. The fire, the animal pens. They added the stable, which was fantastic. I would love to see a animal pen the size of a stable, and they don't have to do the three tiers. They can just pick, kind of a tier two equivalent of a pen that is the size of a stable that can be locked. And I really don't like how the pens can't be locked, and they're just something that's like super exploity. With people will run by your base, see that your animals are done, and then just throw them on the ground. And the animal pens, they need to be a lockable asset. And you can watch my video there. I talk about lockable pens and go through the whole deep dive. So there's some stuff that still needs to be added, that I think would greatly improve the game. Inventory management, custom filters. I've talked about this extensively. I've probably done about 5 videos on this, where they just need to go through there and add, since they've added so much content, item content over the last couple of years, 4 years ish. It's really a lot of work to scrub through all those menus. And with this new economy update they're getting ready to release, it kind of does resolve some of that, because in the filters, because they're splitting all that stuff into separate workbenches, it kind of does resolve some of that inventory management stuff that I talk about. So, I guess that's a fix. I mean, that's kind of an adaptation of a fix. So hopefully the little icons will work. Here I go into a discussion about running server admin times log. So they did go through there and update the Windows. So I got to say that's a check off the wish list. I got to give them props for that. Thrall naming, they did the thrall naming. So that got to give kudos to that. One thing that I don't like, though, that I'm realizing is that the the issue is when they get those random perks at 10, 15, and 20, sometimes you just end up with garbage ass stats. And because you'll get a thrall, and then you'll end up with a whole bunch of garbage stats, and then you're like, oh, he's trash. And so now you're on the run, you get another thrall, you go through the cycle again, and it's garbage stats again. And so you're like 40 thralls deep in now, looking, trying to get a thrall with a couple of decents, like two out of the three have decent stats, and you're just not getting them. You're just getting, survival, 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 survival. And the whole, if it's an archer thrall with accuracy, or if it's a warrior thrall with melee, there's no real distinguishing factor. So I kind of feel like they need to take the archer and the warrior out of the equation, and just have them be however you tailor them with stats, because just to have that nomenclature archer versus warrior still there, even though they're populated with base stats. So I do like the leveling system. I just feel like I hate that word feel. The stat generation, especially with the horses, it really needs to be tied into the food system. Well, anyways, I digress. Let's continue on. A summarized wish list. So here I go into inventory management filter 2.0. Let's see here. We got gas mask kits for regular humans, armor, rock. Okay, so they have not addressed this. How gas can be used to kill off all your pets, and certain animals need to be immune to gaseous orbs. And this really exists on a PvP server, because I would have all my animals killed off by gaseous orbs, and I think certain animals need to be immune, and that would give them priority for certain builds. Like if you had your rock noses were immune to gas, because they live in the volcano, or that would give them viability. And so that one needs to be revisited. What was this, tier 1 DLC? They did this. I was talking about like a wood structure, so this kind of ties into my derelict build tier 1 wood DLC. So this is an achieve. What else we got here? Spartan kick. I would like to see this reworked. So when I talk about this, where they do have a kick, but the animation isn't tied into the other object. So I'd like to see to where if you had a guy literally on the cliff and you Spartan kicked him, it would kick him off the cliff, and I think that would lead to some potential cinematic options. If creators could tie that into certain YouTube videos and cinematic options. I would also like to see some additional admin options. I noticed they're doing this with 7day.ai that you can set up camera views to record videos, and so it creates for better YouTube cinematics. And just as a side segue thought, let's see, floor traps. We talked about traps. The ratio, it's like a 1/5 ratio of the attack versus the defend on a PvP server. There's just not enough defend components when you take in that your pets are not immune to gas, and it just needs to be completely reworked on the ratio. Maybe that's where survival comes in for pets. Is there's a degree if a higher survival base gives them more standoff to um, the effect of gaseous orbs. Maybe that's a little bit. But I think rock nose should be entirely immune to gas. Period, and that would give them a viability. I would like to see a crafting perk for Crom. Um, Let me see. More recipes for large campfires, stews, and soups. Now, this actually is huge because although the new healing system is an improvement and I do prefer it, it has completely broken the current food system. And so this definitely applies now for a wish list. Is the food system needs to be completely reworked, and I think it needs to be tied into attributes instead of healing. And so as you eat certain foods, you gain certain attributes. Now black ice, okay, and this is really applies to the issue is like I've been playing the Isles of Sethos, and one of the big issues that I've been running into is that I got some recipes to create the black ice sword, but the issue is that um, I don't have the capability to craft it because there is not an ice forge on the Isles of Sethos. And so they need to separate the recipes from in world, like how you're in the mountain and you can do the obsidian ingots and you have to go to the thing. They need to separate the location based crafting items from the recipes because you basically nerf those items. They're especially when you can. Let's say you get a 5% improvement from star metal to obsidian. Well, and you have to go somewhere to do obsidian. It completely nerfs and makes the obsidian obsolete. And same thing with the black ice weapons. It's a fantastic weapon, but because you have to go somewhere and go through the trouble, it detracts you from other things that you may want to do. Um, so there's a little bit of a refinement that needs to take place on the black ice weapons, and they need to be integrated into the new furnace system. The As we go through here, we wish list armor stand. I would like to see that. They haven't implemented that. Crom rework 2.0, Crom rework 2.5. Lots of discussion about Crom. Um, Let me see. Wheel of Pain Part 5 wish list. Lots of discussions about Wheel of Pain, building meta, and wish list. So this ties into the vaults and the issues with the size of the vaults and kind of like on that PvP server that exists. I would love to go back to the PvP server, but what I've realized is has become such a toxic environment, and it's so detrimental to my time, because as a professional, I have limited amount of time, and I can't go one step forward, eight steps back, one step forward, eight steps back. It's just not conducive to a productive time ratio. So I've kind of compromised and I play on a PvE server where I can still have a degree of conflict, but I don't log in every day with my stuff completely erased by like 12-year-old kids that are from China. So it's just one of those things where it becomes a compromise. And what I realize is on the PvE conflict, you almost don't see vaults at all. They're almost non-existent. but on the PvP servers, you see them spammed everywhere. And so that speaks to certain meta and mechanics that exist that really need to be refined, are taken a hard look at. Um, Let me see. We got the honey gruel. I would like to see honey gruel introduced into the food system for the thralls. I think they've done a really good job with the food system on the thralls, but the issue is that it doesn't. Those that same mechanic needs to apply for humans for attribute buffs. Uh, I'm talking about the animal pin, small animal pin. Greater Nox nose immune to lava. Would like to see that. Let's see. Bugged or broken item, outdated, needs reworked. Oh yeah, siege hammer. The tooltips, I would really get into the weeds on the tooltips. Tooltips used to frustrate the shit out of me because they wouldn't represent what the item actually did. And so I would deep dive pretty extensively into the tooltip is the card in the bottom left and would say what its attributes are. And yeah, some of those were not accurately depict what the weapon did, but I think they've dialed that in a little bit better. Um, Compass replaced journey. Yeah, I'd like to to see a compass that once you got to a certain level, you could cycle between a compass or the journeys. Inventory management filter rework. Let's see. Unnamed city legendary weapon repair kit rework. Info cards needs updating. Thermal info lacking. Oh yeah. That's one thing they've done with the Isles of Sath is they've kind of taken away the temperature system altogether, except for in the center there where it gets a little cold. But they they've they've done that to work because that was driving me nuts. How you have all these cold armor sets in summer, and I love that concept. But the issue is that the armor sets didn't match up with what the temperature was. You'd be wearing a bikini for cold weather, and you'd be wearing a full set for fur set for the heat, and it just was immersion breaking. And I'm glad they just neutralized all that stuff with the Isles of Seth. Um, what is this? Acting bad with shields, need rework. Yeah, I think they fixed that with some of the AI updates. Thrall's acting bad with shield needs rework 3. Let me see. Wish list Thrall acting bads need attack fun calm. Let me see. Wish list Obsidian stats. Yeah, Obsidian is almost has even though there's all these graphics and all these assets, and I talk about it extensively in the discussion with the with Obsidian, but it's kind of like the Lost Child. It's comparable to Star Metal. They haven't really even factored it into the Isles of Sithoth. They didn't even bake it in. It's like you can't get Obsidian. It's got nothing to do with it. It's almost like they've created, so they really need to go back and create a spreadsheet and factor where Obsidian plays in. Is it going to be better than Star Metal? Is it going to be less than Star Metal? Is it going to be if it was me, I would have it up on par with hardened steel, but significantly more durable. I would have it right there, so it would have kind of a niche application. Blunt arrows not working. They fixed that. Glitched out dragon. They fixed that. Glitched out dragon. I don't know if they fixed those. I haven't played on the old map in a while. Tool durability and material durability rework. They need to kind of come back and fix this. But it's a deep dive discussion. Thrall's wish list, more menu options. They fixed this. They've absolutely fixed this. When did I do this video? This video was done July 18th of 2019. So I did this video for Thrall menu options. What is that? 19, 20, 21. So over 2.5 years ago, I did this video. And that's another reason why I put these up, is to kind of prove I invented this shit. That's me. I invented this shit. I invented this shit right here. Boom. You know, um, Funcom will never recognize all the hard work that I put into this shit, but I totally invented that shit. Let me see here. Wish list, other bosses in name city. Okay, fragments. Added another 2 dragons, fragment power. Let's see here. Missed opportunity, PvE conflict needs polishing. Okay, so this, I still agree that this needs to be addressed. This absolutely needs to be addressed. They've kind of fixed it by taking the deities or the gods out of the picture entirely, because the construct is you go through all of this stuff where you're ultimately, you know, doing all these shrines, and you get these benefits for the shrines, but then the issue runs into, you can't summon gods on a PvE server and conflict, and you can't use any of those benefits from the tokens. And they've even further with the Isles of Seth, they've even further kind of nerfed the deity shrines, because you can't farm the souls or the hearts to feed the shrines, because there's not enough thralls, um, NPC thralls. You got to go to the surge. You only get 5 hearts, half of them to decay before you get back to the shrine. That's a whole issue that really needs to be dialed in and reworked. And it's got some issues. I would really like to see roaming camps on the Isles of Seth. I prefer the Isles of Seth map. I'm mixed. I really prefer a lot of the gameplay and some of the stuff they've done, and the meta change. I would like to see that meta changed, reversed back into the old map, um, and and some of that old stuff kind of. Let me see. Guide, Thrall, Fight Club, bug map icon. I don't know about that. Wish list thralls can't bandages. Yeah, so they've kind of addressed this. They've addressed this with the food by feeding them certain foods. They do heal up faster. So I'm gonna say, uh, list Nordic sand mask. Ooh, I still would like to see a Nordic sand mask instead of like the Arab style of stuff. Uh, some of my kind of creative videos. I don't know why I put that in the wish list, but I was just kind of messing around with different themes, mods and why they suck. Discussion and thoughts. Mods and why they suck. Part two. Torch, Cleaver, game design, discussion and thoughts. Okay, so that was where I kind of wish they had more of an interactive, like torches were more interactive. So if you went to a place, you could actually take the torch off the wall and use the torch off the wall and keep it with you until it broke, but you couldn't repair it. And that was the kind of the construct behind that. Torch in game. Let me see. Siege mechanics rework, idea, discussion, and thoughts. I think this, like I was saying before, there's too much offense and not enough defense in the game. And that's why you see these videos where people like triple their doors. They figured out how to glitch in like 40 doors into one frame, and the fact that people are do that stuff speaks to the percentage, or the you it's to the damage ratio to the wall construction. Um, Wish list craftable benches. Craftable bushes. Yeah, I would like to see bushes. I would like to see more craftable bushes that you could actually hide. Like, I know they have decorative bushes, but I would like to see bushes that you could actually just place on the ground, and they would stay. They would hide your base, right? A little bit more of a defensive option. And I realize that is not, that maybe that breaks from the theme, but more of a, maybe it can be done through a camouflage paint. I don't know. Black blood tools. Let me see. Work star metal. Not okay. Relic hunter, treasure seekers, thoughts and discussion. Uh, Crappy ass server performance, thoughts and discussion. So here I really go into some of the issues about players like spreading. They do this clan claim spread, and it causes a lot of issues with server performance. And I think they've addressed some of that. Cages and thrall rework. I would love to be able to put thralls that have been knocked out in cages, because cages exist in the game. But if you have a thrall, I would love to be able to knock them out and put them in the cage before they're your thrall, right? So they don't just despawn on you and go back. They're stuck in that cage. and they'll fight you. I would love to see that whole cage mechanic worked out. Be able to lock the cage, so if you could put another player in the cage, I would love to see that. And they could always remove their bracelet if they wanted to die. Thralls and Cages Part 2. This is one that I really wanted to see them add, and I've seen the mechanic. It exists in the Unreal 4 engine. So when they have the game, they have spider webs, and when you run through a spider web, it should just trigger a debuff on you where you get the snare effect, and it should last like 2 or 3 seconds. So as you're running through cobwebs, you're getting snared, and I saw that in Grounded. Grounded has that effect. So if you're running past a spider web, you don't see the visualization of the spider web breaking. You just see the permanent asset. But then in the top corner, you get the little snare debuff. So it's really immersion based. And you're like, so it kind of teaches you to not run through. It gives relevance to the art design and the level design. So I really like that construct. They haven't addressed anything with that. AI needs rework. They've kind of fixed some of this by adding the menus, improved armor benches, items too. So in Atlas, they went through and they added a lot of the stuff that you could make as an option in the that you can make in the workbenches. And I know they've kind of done a little bit with this in the past, but everything that exists on the armor bench needs to be added to the improved armor bench. And so I shouldn't have to like recreate a base armor bench and craft items there. It should just be a filter in the menu to go back and forth, and I should just need the one item, because the least amount of assets that you can have in the game leads to better server performance. But if I have to have one of each bench in a building in order to make stuff, uh, then it's a lot of assets that the server has to manage and control. So it's just a more refinement. Scorpion Pet sucks. Need rework. Yeah, Scorpion Pet does suck. It's the armor value is way too low for it having an exoskeleton, and it should be immune to poison. Uh, Map room pet peeves. Let's see here. Red Mother Dragon needs rework. They were glitching out. They were glitching out big time. More practice weapons. I think they've accomplished that. Iron Steel spikes. So here's one of my big ones, and I think this. I'm not one to. I hate to use the words complain, but I'm not one to speak out about a problem and talk about deficiencies without giving solutions. And one of my solutions for not having enough base defense is to um, speak to, instead of just having wood spikes and palisades, actually go through and create iron spikes and palisades, so they have a little bit more hit points and there's a little bit more standoff, and they can actually use a lot of the same assets, just color them gray instead of brown. And it's a way to just give a little bit more resistance to bombs and explosions, and it kind of gives that creep just a little bit more on the defense side, so your shit's just not getting taken from you all the time. Just a little bit more standoff. Um, and I think some of those climb mechanics can, by adding bleed and poison arrows, actually help with that as well, because when they're climbing, if your guys shoot them off with poison arrows, it makes it to where they can't climb and get to some of your key structures. So little things like that. Wish list armor ideas. Let's see, and then I go into wish list door knocking. Uh, this is kind of gimmicky, but it's also hilarious, and it does add a degree of immersion. And then I go there. They got a really good video, 3 pillars, discussion topics, realizing current status of the game. 32 minutes. Exiles versus Rush. Let me see. So lots and lots of videos here that go into game mechanics. It just really deep dive into, and I kind of wanted to go through and just look at it through an analytical kind of summary version on this video, and I realized that it may not be entertaining, but ultimately it kind of shows the journey that I've been on and the level of kind of deep dive into some of these mechanics. and to see how some of them come to fruition, I'm definitely happy that the fact that they've populated in the game means that I was ultimately right, that my analysis was correct. It just took 2 years for them to finally manifest. And I know with the developers, it's kind of a love hate thing. Like I do love the world of Conan, and I do feel that the graphics and the art team there with Conan are fantastic. But I'm also not happy with some of their financial decisions to sell themselves to Tencent. And I think with the current media internally, they're probably regretting those decisions. But I also realize that to stay relevant, you need money for development of assets, and also exposure to new markets. So I get it, I get it. I definitely get it. But it definitely, just go through here and see some of this stuff come to fruition is good. If I were to pick three things that I would like to see out of all this entire wish list of over 150 videos, some of these videos are actually embedded into other playlists too. I would like to see safes added to the game. So you would go box, chest, safe, and vault. And I would like to see the safe as a smaller, like a tier 3 version of the storage system. And I would like to see that as an economy 2.0 update. Um, the second thing I would like to see reworked is where did it go? It was I forget. I lost my train of thought. Oh, gas. Rock nose immune to gas. Uh, gas. It's where you can't gas out rock nose. They're immune to gas. And then thirdly, so scorpions are immune to poison. Rock nose are immune to gas. And this is not high on my list, but I would like to see the obsidian slotted correctly in its a niche role, like super high durable, just a little bit better than steel. Um, that needs to be addressed. I did that video a long time ago, and it just it's just something that just Oh, and then I guess for my third option would be the iron palisades, iron and steel equivalents of palisades that are just far more durable and do more damage. So you're not playing around, and actually have snappable foundations to the ions that steel. So you have like the ones that can just be placed everywhere, and then you have like a tier 4 equivalent that is it snaps into a current building block that is that is has significantly more hit points to kind of counter that balance of offense versus defense and the imbalance that exists there. But as always, thank you for watching. I know this video is more technical based, but it just kind of it's for me. It's a snapshot of what has been accomplished, and I was just kind of reviewing for myself where it's at, and kind of going through these talking points. And you can watch any of these videos and leave comments, feedback, let me know what you think, and yeah, as always, thank you for watching.